Hello, everybody. Today, I am interviewing my good friend and my mentor, Jim Miller, and we're going to talk about a few topics here that I outlined. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Mo.
A long time no see. It's still
It
good
has
to
been
see
a
you.
while. Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So let's get started. Give me a little introduction about who you are for people who are new to the industry. The old timers definitely know you. Give me some introduction about who you are for the new timer, for the new people who joined the framing industry.
Okay. Uh, Technically, I'm retired. I still do some mentoring and some consultations. I still do very limited classes, small groups. Um, and I started framing in 1988 uh, with a brick and mortar store. And when I signed the lease for the store, I had no idea how to build a picture frame. But I had been a calligrapher for 20 years, and I had a previous career in industrial electrical equipment. So I had a pretty good skill set developed
Yeah.
to do the framing work. And I got off to a good start, sold the business in 2015. So I technically owned a storefront for 28 years and was moderately successful. It was a good business for me.
Where
Had a
were you
lot of
located?
fun.
Where were
Uh,
you
Pick,
located, Jim?
Pickerington, Ohio.
Ohio.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
It's
And
it's central Ohio.
so, what made you decide to leave your career, your previous career, and get into picture framing?
I was bored with it. And I had been studying calligraphy and practicing calligraphy for, like I said, 20 years, ever since college. And I wanted to, in 1988, I wanted to be a professional calligrapher.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, this will be great. I'll open a frame shop and have framer work in the back, and I'll have my drawing board set up in the window, and I'll do calligraphy there for the public. And
Oh.
that worked real well for about a year. And then
Uh-huh.
everybody got computers and nobody bought calligraphy anymore. So
Oh,
that business just went poof. So
I see.
I went to the back room and started framing and realized I really, really liked it. And the rest is uh, just 28 years of fun and frolic. I studied all the PPFA literature that was available. I bought every book I could find. I attended every class I could find. I did a lot of experimentation with my own stuff, not customers' property, of course.
Yeah.
And the learning curve continued through all of those years.
So
It,
it's a non-ending learning situation. This business, isn't it?
no, there's
Yeah.
no end to it. If you think
This
you've
is a
known
good
enough, then you don't know enough.
this is a good segue. You read all these books that we're talking about, but you also written your own books, and I own several of them. You want to tell me about that? What led you to write these books, and what books have you written?
Well, I wanted to start exposing myself to other framers. And I was going to trade shows and PPFA meetings locally and regionally. Uh, and I thought, well, gee, I can teach a class. So I
Hmm.
did. I put together the complete guide to shadow boxes and framing objects. That was my first class. And it turned out to be a 3 hour lecture and a 3 hour workshop. And it was very successful. I taught that class for 20 years at the West Coast Art and Frame Show and Atlanta and a couple of times in New York uh, before they gave up those venues. Um, and my book, first book, The Complete Guide to Shadow Boxes and Framing Objects, was based on that class. Um, and it's been a good book. I've had a lot of good reports for it. The sales are still good. You can buy the book from me through my website, or you can buy it from the PFM bookstore or the PPFA bookstore.
Jim,
And
what's your
either
website?
it's jimmilleronline.com.
One word, jimmilleronline.com. I have it on
Right.
the screen if you guys are watching on screen, but if you're on the podcast, it's jimmilleronline, one word.com. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so we've got all that stuff. So if people want to contact you, they can also contact you through their website. Is there a contact page?
Yeah, you can contact me through the website, and if you want to email, that may be easier. It's artframeit@gmail.com.
Artframeit@gmail.com.
Right.
Okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to try to put that on the screen so people will get to see that. All right. So, Jim, you did some innovative stuff, and one of the most impressive things, at least to me, is your platform mount technique. Did you invent that? And tell me what a platform mount is for people who don't know, so we can describe that. Oh, you
Well,
have a sample?
oh yes, I have several.
That's good.
Uh, the platform mount. It
Yeah.
looks like an ordinary mount with a mat. It has to have a mat, and here's how that works. Well, I have a video about this too on my website. We
Okay.
we have a window mat. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be a multi-window mat. It just has to have uh, two
A
layers.
window.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And you cut out a window in the bottom mat that is the size of your document here,
Right.
plus 1/2 of 1%. On an
Yeah.
8.5 by 11 document, that's about a 16th inch or less of allowance.
Allowance.
And
Okay.
that's to allow expansion and contraction. And then
Yeah.
you take the fallout from this opening and tape it back in using 2 or 3 layers of tape under the
Yeah.
hinge so that the platform sticks out from the mat a little bit because
Sure.
you don't want to crowd the document. You want it to be able to expand and contract freely. So
I see.
you put the platform back in, and then you hinge that to a backing board, which can be mat board, foam board, whatever you want. This backing board would not come in direct contact with whatever it is you put in the platform.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Only the conservation or museum grade board would come in contact with it. And then you
Sure.
open this, and it's kind of hard to do without a table, but
So
you,
what Jim is doing is demonstrating how it's done. And if you go to his
yes,
website, you get to see a video. He says there's a video you can watch there.
yes, there is a
So Jim,
video.
this is I tell you, I told you over the phone. This was a life changing situation for me when I learned this from you. I took one of your classes. I'm like, wait, what? It was amazing. So I love it.
Well, it
Tell me,
changed my life as a framer too. It became very
yeah,
quickly my favorite way to mount documents,
absolutely.
photographs, and flat things.
It's
And
mine too.
since if you had a computerized mat cutter, it can be very efficient because I cut stock openings for 8.5 by 11, 8 by 10, 4 by
Hmm.
5, 16 by 20, and I kept those things under the bench. And when I needed
Oh,
to
so you
mount a
had your
document,
platform mounts. Oh,
sure,
I see. I see. Sure,
yep,
sure, sure.
pull them out and put a
So
top mat on, and
what led you
good.
to this finding or invention or technique? I don't know what to call it. What led
Well,
you to it?
I wanted to find a way to mount two-dimensional objects, documents and photographs, basically,
Hmm.
that would be completely reversible, non-invasive. And what really led me to the final product was a desire to make ready-made frames for documents. I sold them through the
I
shop,
see.
and I would today I'd be selling them online if I were still doing that.
Sure,
But
sure.
I here's I designed this so that we have just an ordinary frame
So,
with the double
okay,
mat.
Jim's showing me a frame. Uh-huh.
Yep. And we've got the instructions on the back here. It's
Ah, how to
pretty
place it. I
much,
see.
yep.
Sure.
You open the back of the frame. I've got turn buttons on these, and on the budget-minded document frames that I built, I used flexible fitting points. But
Yeah.
on the conservation grade things that are custom, I always use turn buttons. And then the uh, the process is quite simple. I showed you how the platform works,
Yeah.
uh,
Absolutely.
but we have quite a bit of information online about how to do that. In addition to the video, there's I taught a class on platform mounting at the trade shows for a number of years, and I have a PowerPoint slideshow that goes with the video that I sell online. Um, and
Oh,
here's,
we can buy that. We can buy that video from your website.
oh yeah, sure can.
Nice, nice.
Um,
So, what other mounting and preservation, or what other techniques have you created or developed? Because I think you've done plenty. Uh, uh, so maybe you want to tell us about those.
well, before we get past the platform mount, I want to show you the
Yeah,
latest innovation. You, we've
latest. Okay, hold on.
still basically the same thing, but
Sure.
instead of having a platform, we use a piece of felt. This
Okay.
is ordinary 16th inch white polyester felt. Buy it at any
Yeah.
fabric store. And
Yeah.
you cut this to the size of the platform
Okay.
or the size of your document. And
Hmm.
then you glue that to the backing board.
Sure.
And when you put the document in place, the piece of felt serves the purpose of the platform.
Get out of here. Let me see.
Okay, hang on a second. I'll show you.
That's cool. So you don't need to really. I see. Right. Uh-huh.
Now,
Wait, you have
this
it
is,
backward.
I
Wait, you have it
do.
backward.
Yeah, it's okay. There we go. Yeah, that's it right there. Now, this is perfect for ready-made frames where people want to
Uh-huh.
take them home, put a document or a photograph in. And I sold these things to some businesses that had certificates and registration forms that were replaced periodically, and they could open their frames and replace the documents with no tools, essentially.
That is amazing. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that worked out really well.
What do you call that? Felt platform mounting?
Yes, that's a soft platform mount.
A soft platform mount. Oh,
Yep.
there's a name for it, a soft platform mount. I like that.
Yeah. Yep.
What else you got?
That's described in the video too. Well, let us see
Sure.
here. There's more on the platform mount. It goes beyond just uh,
So what Jim just showed us here, he had a platform mount, but instead of having, a little trap door, he had a piece of felt that held the document in place, and you
right.
just shut the mat over it, and it's not going to go anywhere because it's felt.
You use a piece of felt in place of the platform that you would normally
Hmm.
hinge. Now,
Looks great.
you can use a platform mount for double-sided framing too. See, we've
All right,
got
let's
this,
see.
we close that, and we've got both sides.
What's holding those in place? Is it double-sided paper or is it two different artworks?
Uh, well, no, it's just one artwork. And
Uh-huh.
what we've done here is cut a platform mat as usual, uh,
Sure.
well, about half an inch, excuse me, one half of 1% larger than the document itself. And
I see.
for the platform that comes out of that, we cut another opening in it. So
Okay.
it's the platform with an opening. You see this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And what you do is you put your document in here and in the platform as usual,
Yeah.
and you put the platform on the window that's on the back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when you close it, that's what you get.
Okay. Let me see what the back shows.
It looks the same on both sides. There's
Sure,
no
sure.
difference.
Yeah, it looks
And
good.
then you can also use the platform mount for multiple openings, like
Hmm.
vacation
What
photos, things like that.
what does the
That's
back of that look like, Jim?
uh, the back of that looks like this.
Oh, it's several. So you'll stop
Right,
each trap door kind of thing. I see. I see. I
exactly.
see. Okay. Sure.
Individual platforms. And that's really easy to do with a computerized mat cutter. But if you
Sure.
don't have one of those, or you're not sure about the spacing, you can cut the window mats as you normally would, and then make individual platform mounts like this
Like these.
with a quarter-inch uh, outer piece. You glue these to the back of your window mat
I see.
using double-sided tape. I use uh, fillet tape,
Sure.
and you've got the window and you've also got the platform that's hinged as usual. It's just in a miniature size, and
Looks
that
great. For people listening to this, you want to watch the video. I don't know how to describe it, but it looks good. He's putting a he's putting a little small piece in the back of the opening, and that looks pretty good. Okay, Jim. Um,
works fine.
are
It's
you done
okay.
with platform mounts? Are you
Done
done
with the
with platform
platform mount.
mounts?
Yep, done
All
with
right. Tell
that.
me about other techniques that you've developed because you've developed a lot of stuff.
Well, one of the most popular things, or probably the most useful, is the formed rod mounts. Now,
Uh huh.
you like my violin? I carried this
I
thing
do.
at trade shows
What,
for 25 years. It's-
Jim? There was
There's,
a history behind it. You told me the story. I forgot. What was the story about this violin?
well, it's hanging on the wall in my dining room here. Uh,
Yeah.
my mother-in-law had a violin that she played when she was in elementary school, and
Uh-huh.
she had sheet music that went with it. And I thought, gee, that'd make a great display at home. So,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to take the violin out and put it back.
Yeah.
And want me to turn this around and show you what it looks like? I think I can
Yeah.
do
Sure.
that.
Sure. Is Gail in it? Is Gail gonna be in the shot?
Nope.
Nope. Ah, there you go.
There it is. Can you see it?
I see it. So that's her violin from her elementary school.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, this
And
this gives me a great idea. My daughter, she does violin, and when she's done with the with whatever schooling, maybe I make a frame for her because she really loves that stuff.
sure, you could. And
Yeah, yeah.
the first thing I did was constructed mounts so that they could be taken off very easily.
Mm-hmm.
See, I
Sure.
use two mounts there, and they're flexible. They flex a little bit, see, so that
Yeah.
you can uh, put the violin in there and flex the mount to hold it in place like this.
So you can
And you
always
can,
replace it, take it out. Yeah.
sure, you can always take it out and put it back, and you can elevate the instrument off the background. As you can see
I see.
here,
Yeah.
it's not only elevated, it's mounted at an angle,
Sure.
a
Sure.
compound angle.
That looks really nice.
Yeah, it worked out very well. I've done quite a number of those. And it works well for tools, musical instruments, lots of three-dimensional objects that have hard surfaces. But it is a point mount. That is, it doesn't cover much ground. You've got little wires that uh,
Sure.
go over the edges of the item. And a variation of that is what I call the plate mount. And
Uh-huh.
it's kind of hard to tell, but there's one here,
I see it. Yeah.
there's one here, and there's one here. And if you turn
So
this
what Jim is
over,
showing us here, a plate with the wires. Yeah.
yeah, plate
I can
mounts
see
are
it.
really easy if you know, if you think about it
Yeah.
a little bit.
Sure.
We've got these formed
What
rods
is
that,
okay?
that go from the edge of the plate about 3 inches in, and
Yeah.
then I strung picture hanging wire uh,
Sure.
among all three of those,
On
and
the back of the plate.
yep, on the back of the plate, and I twisted it so that they're under tension.
Sure.
See that? And then I put a hanging wire on it. Now, do you see this plastic here?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Uh, that's poly polymorphic um, material. It's a plastic material that you can form. It comes in pellet form or sheet form,
Hmm.
and if you heat it in water or with hot air, it softens and you can form it. So
Oh,
I just formed it to serve as pads on each of the mounts, and where each of the wire twisting intersections was, I wanted to cover those things up so there wouldn't be any chance of poking fabric or poking fingers. You know how
I
picture
like that a
hanging
lot.
wire is kind of sharp. So
This is
that's
also something I cannot describe on audio, so you got to watch the video part of that. All right,
yeah.
what else you got, Jim?
Let's see here. Um,
This episode is sponsored by Framing POS. I've been a picture framer since 1993 and own a frame shop in New York City, so I know firsthand what it takes to run one. That's why I built Framing POS, a point of sale system made just for picture framers. It makes managing your frame shop easy. Check it out at framingpos.com.
let's talk about the direct contact overlays.
The right kind. Oh, okay.
Yep. The first one was the golf ball.
Yeah,
And I came onto this when I was doing framing for a golf gift shop
yeah.
across town. And we used a piece of 3 inch PVC, cut
Sure.
just a little bit deeper than the ball. I cut a round opening, and this kind of looks like the ball in the cup, doesn't it? On
Yeah,
the on
yeah,
the on the golf
yeah.
course. Well, the way that's mounted is pretty simple. You get a piece of nylon tool, you
Yeah.
cut a round hole in the mat that's smaller than the ball. I think
Sure.
the opening is 1 1/8 inches, and
Yeah,
so the ball goes through and protrudes on the back of the mat. Then you
I
get a
like it.
piece of tool and you wrap it like a lollipop. like a sucker, and you pull
And Jim,
the
if you're not looking close enough, you're not even going to see the tool when you hang it up
no,
in a frame.
no.
Yeah, I can
It's
barely see it on video. Yeah, looks
very
amazing.
inconspicuous. Even right up close,
Yeah.
it's hard to see. And then I thought, gee, that's great. So I tried it on a tennis ball, and that didn't work. However, there's another
Why did it not work?
because you could see it. The
I see.
the
Okay. Okay.
the fuzzy surface of the tennis ball uh, allowed the mesh of the tool to embed, and it really emphasized its weave.
Sure.
So
Sure.
there's another product called Crepeline or Crepeline,
Hmm.
Crepeline, which
Yeah.
is a very fine mesh uh, French organdy fabric, and it's made out of silk,
Yeah.
silk fine mesh fabric, and that works pretty much the same way as a tool. And I
Sure.
stuck it on the back, and you uh, pull the loose ends tight on the back to cover the ball without wrinkles.
Do you have crippling on this guy now? Can I see it close up on the tennis ball? Looks great. Nice. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And on the back, it looks like that. You can see
Sure.
the material there. It's
I can
very
see.
fine,
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Okay.
fine material.
Jim, I got a question. So, how do you come up with this stuff? It's like
No, it comes
these
to
are
me in a dream.
they're, they're
Okay.
very innovative, and they solve a very specific problem that we all have, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. Another thing I wanted to do was find a way to mount books and magazines
Hmm.
without damaging them, so that you could
Sure.
show the edges. I wanted all the
Yeah.
edges to be visible all the way around, including the binding edge.
Yeah.
Uh, I wanted to, and you can elevate this off the backing if you want to, but
If you could, yeah, sure.
this is what I call the book mount, and it's in the Shadow Box book. It consists of two sheets of Mylar D, clear polyester film. Mylar
Yeah.
D, Melodix 516, Hostafon 43 SM. You cut one leaf of the Mylar as wide as the book and
Hmm.
about twice as long.
Yeah.
And uh, it slips under the cover. And you run the ends of that through horizontal slots at the top and the bottom of the book. And that's what actually holds the book in place. See that?
Looks great. Yeah. I love the
And
technique. It's awesome.
yeah, and to keep the cover from flapping open, this is just a paper magazine. To keep the cover from flapping open, you put another piece of mylar horizontally around
Hmm.
that and attach it to itself on the back of the book. So
That's
you've
it.
got the
Yeah.
cover covered and you've got it suspended using the vertical piece.
So you
That's
can do this in a book, on a Bible, on pretty much anything
well,
that's in
yeah.
that,
In fact, the
right?
first project I did that with was a leather bound family Bible that was about probably 11 by 14, something like that. It's big.
Oh, with a decent weight too.
Yeah, yeah. It was very
Right.
old. It was about an inch and a half or 2 inches thick. It was very fragile. The leather had deteriorated. The binding was shot. But I wanted to put it all together. And using the book mount with that horizontal piece of mylar going around it, uh, and it all was held together. There was no need to restore the binding. It would have been a good idea, but the customer said, "No, I want to leave it the way it is." So
Yeah. Yeah.
I framed it using the book mount, and uh, they loved it. It worked out real well.
Yeah. These are so clever. We use them all the time in our shops.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite a useful thing. And then we have the spider mounts. Can you see this?
Yep. I could.
Okay, that's a round uh, piece of mylar. Actually, it's you could cut it to the shape of any uh, medallion or coin or anything like that. Here's another variation of that, uh,
Hmm.
and here's an example of the spider mount in use. Uh, in fact, this is the same size as this. And what you
Yeah.
do is you trace the shape of the metal or camel coin, whatever you want to mount, on a piece of scrap mat board, and you tape a piece of mylar on it that is about an inch and a half or so bigger. And
Yeah.
you, using an X-Acto blade, you cut around the shape to cut out the shape, and on 4 or 5 locations around this shape, uh, create legs, something like the way uh, um, paper dolls
A
are,
spider.
yeah. Uh, and then you fold those through slots in the backing board and attach them to the back. And it looks something like that. See that?
That looks great. That looks really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we
There's
call that a
one.
spider mount, huh?
Yep, that's a spider mount. And then there's the coin mount, which is a variation of that, except that
Sure.
this is really easy. We've got double-sided mats, and
Sure.
we attach the mylar to the back using double-sided tape all over. You want that mylar to be very tightly secured there. And
Yeah.
there's another piece of mylar on the other side of the coin. So the
I see.
coins are actually held in place by pressure between these two pieces of mylar.
Oh, the mats are not functioning as a mount at all then, right? They're just
Nope.
oh, I see. Looks
Nope.
nice.
You've got two sheets of mylar that are holding pressure on the coins.
Very nice.
Yep. Let's
How
see
many
here.
coins have you put in a single sheet, Jim?
Oh gosh, probably a dozen.
Yeah, you could have
Probably a
dozen.
dozen.
Then you
Yeah.
just, if it gets too heavy, then you just split it into another unit, correct?
Oh yeah, sure.
Sure, sure,
It's easy.
absolutely.
All you need to do is cut the openings in a mat, two mats,
Hmm.
double-sided mat, uh, and then use two pieces of mylar. It's very
I
simple to
love it.
do.
I
Uh,
love it. This is great stuff.
Yep, you have to be careful about the thickness of the coins, though. If there's a lot of difference in the thickness of the coins, you'll have a problem because those two pieces of mylar have to be attached so that they kind of form a sandwich. And if the coins are various thicknesses, the sandwich won't be very tight on the thin ones. Does
Sure.
that make sense?
I understand. Sure.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. Um, other variations. Look, I've got some things here. I wanted to show 6 ways to mount uh, some three-dimensional objects. I just use these ballpoint pens. And
Yeah,
this, this what we have over here, a cable tie.
sure.
That's an electrical product. Works very nicely.
Yeah.
You can get them in colors. There's one up here. There's one down there. We've got what do we have here? Um, Easy Attach, which is from the Attach Easy lady,
Sure.
and uh, that works really well. There's on the back. Next to that, I mounted using picture framing wire that I had untwisted. We've got a little twist of that on the back.
So
See
you
that?
so you got a single strand out of it? Is that what you did? You took a picture frame wire and
Yeah.
untwisted it to a single strand? I see.
Take a single strand. Of course, if you're mounting something that's very heavy, you'd have to use more than one strand because it's in single strands. It's not very strong. Then
Yeah.
here we have a mylar sleeve. See that?
Oh, I like that. Sure.
Yep. And the pen goes right back in. And then here we have, oopsie, nope, formed rod mounts over
Yeah.
here. Very secure. If you wanted to mount a hammer or a monkey wrench, something like that, you could do that with the formed rod mounts and be very secure.
Looks great. Looks great.
Ah,
Okay, what else we got?
uh, well, more on the formed
Guys, you have
rod
to watch
mounts.
this part on video because I don't know how to describe that. It's cool stuff.
Uh, well, we have customers bringing in vacation stuff, and some of it's
Yeah,
kind of fragile, like a sand dollar. See that?
sure. Yeah,
How do you mount a sand dollar? Well, you glue it, but
yeah,
if it gets a good bump, the glue can come loose because the sand dollar surface it's powdery. It's not very sturdy. So
yeah,
I covered it with crepe line and glued it on the back, and
sure,
that's just a fabric wrapping basically. See that?
sure.
I
Yeah.
cut the backing board a little bit smaller than
Mm-hmm.
the.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look carefully, you can see the crepe line in the openings here, the
Yeah,
notches
I see that.
but not over here, but where there's a deep recess, you can see it. Uh, but that works well.
Looks
Um,
nice.
these are items that, again, very fragile,
Yeah,
and gluing them is kind of risky because if it gets bumped or dropped, it'll come loose and you'll break the item,
sure.
break the object. Um, but the On the back, you can see we have straps, but they're not made out of mylar. This time they're made out of crepeline, and they are just almost invisible. There's
I can't see it at all.
no, well, there's one there,
Hmm.
there's one there, and there's one there, and over here there's one there, and well, maybe you could see this one.
That I can
It's
see. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, this has traveled to a lot of trade shows. It's been on the planes, and UPS has not been kind over the years. So these crepe line will stretch a little bit, and as you can see, these are
Sure.
loosened some, but they're still secure. That's no problem there.
I like that too.
And what else I got? Oh, enclosures. I mentioned the violin
Yeah.
was the genesis of the formed rod mount, and I mentioned also that I wanted to be able to take the violin out and put it back. Well, that turned out to be what we now call gravity groove.
Gravity
And
groove. Okay.
gravity groove, you need two frames to do this, and
Uh-huh.
I can't do it that way, but you can remove the acrylic. You need an
Yep.
acrylic box and two
Sure.
frames, one inside the box and one outside the box, and it goes together this way,
That looks good. Yeah.
just like that. There you go.
And is
And
friction going to hold it up when you hang up that frame? Is friction going
sorry,
to hold that in place if you hang up the frame?
yeah, sure. You
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to secure the frame to the wall so it can't move around. Security hangers, or I use uh, half-inch by 2-inch mending plates as
Sure.
as sort of faux security hangers. Uh, they're secure, more secure
Oh,
than
good.
a typical 2-point hanging system or wire. But the one
Yeah.
thing you need to know about a gravity groove is that the box has to
Yeah.
rest on the top of the inside frame. If it
Okay.
rests on the inside of the bottom frame, the box will fall open.
We'll tilt over. I see.
It,
Sure.
it,
Sure.
it, the box has to hang at the top of the frame.
Looks good.
So that's gravity groove. And then another one I came up with is what I call the slip over. Like this, you want to put
Uh-huh.
three-dimensional objects in there, and this consists of a frame that's got glass or acrylic in it, and
How's that glass held in place?
that's held in place with fitting points.
I
Um,
see. Okay. So you put a little piece
I,
of mat that
I
held the
cut it.
glass in place. I see it. Sure.
I cut
Okay.
a half-inch wide mat and put that in place with fitting points. These are
Yeah.
the Fletcher uh, flexible fitting points. They call them multi-points, I think. And then
Okay.
I built the inside frame out of a linen liner that's inch and a
Mm-hmm.
half deep with a
Yeah.
nice matching backing board, linen
Yeah.
backing board, and goes together just like this. See this?
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have to fit terribly tight. If you get them within a 16th of an inch, you're going to be just fine. And
I
this,
like that too. Yeah. Sure.
yeah, the box literally lifts off the fixed frame
The
to the
wall.
wall. Yeah, that's a slip over or slider.
So you can change the object or whatever that's on the inner frame and
Yeah,
slip
you
back
can,
the slip
right?
over frame.
Yep,
Pretty
sure
clever.
can. Yeah.
Yeah. What else you
Uh,
got, Jim?
well, there's the direct contact overlay has taken a lot of twists and turns over the years, which is
Yeah.
why I wrote the book, DCO Framing, Direct Contact Overlays. You could make
Sure.
direct contact overlays using mylar, which is the clear polyester film, or fabric like the crepe line I showed you,
Mhm.
or you can use uh, acrylic sheet, the same acrylic that you'd use for ordinary framing. But in this case, the object that you're mounting is in direct contact with the acrylic. You see that?
Uh-huh. I see. Yeah.
This newspaper was from the time that Obama was elected in
2000 what? 4, 8?
2008, and
Uh-huh.
I framed this at the time, and look at this. It's been
It
around
hasn't moved.
for what? Should
17 years?
Yeah, something like that. And
Sure.
it's still
Sure.
in pretty good shape. Of course, it's some discolored somewhat, but it's
It
not
doesn't matter.
nearly as
Yeah.
discolored as it would be if there were much oxygen in there.
So
Putting
there's
the,
nothing holding this in place. You just have
well,
friction between the acrylic
yeah,
and the back.
it's,
Yeah,
this is heavy enough and floppy enough that I had to put something underneath the front page.
I
And
see.
then
Okay.
there's a Mylar, half a book mount, that goes vertically to hold the
I
newspaper in
see.
place,
Okay. I see.
uh,
Okay.
by the benefit of the 4-ply board that's underneath the cover. And then
I see.
the acrylic goes on top of that and holds it all in place. You can't see what's behind it. Well, I guess you
Now
can
I
if you
see.
look at the
Sure.
edge.
Now I see.
See
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
edge? But
Yeah.
it's not terribly obvious. See that?
Nope. Yep.
And this works really well. Uh, Customers love it. And
It looks great.
If you use Optium acrylic, the
Hmm.
anti-reflection acrylic, and I always use the UV filtering type. But if you use Optium, you can't see it. It looks like
Sure.
that newspaper is just kind of floating there.
Right in
Works
front
really
of you.
well.
I like that a lot.
Uh,
Very nice. What else you got, Jim?
well, that's pretty much all I brought out for you.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate it. Look, you've innovated so much in this industry. You've contributed so much to this industry, and I appreciate it. And I want to thank you. You also helped me out personally when I had one of my staff who had an aneurysm. You took a couple of weeks off. You and Gail drove over to New Jersey from Ohio and stayed at a hotel, helped me out. So I'm very much
Had a good time.
appreciative.
That was a learning experience for me too.
Yeah,
You've got a great business going on there, Mo. I'm very pleased for you.
thank you. That was so kind of you to do, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, Mo, you're an innovator in your own right. Aside from having a successful framing business in a very competitive market, you've also come up with a really good-looking software program. Of course, we
Thank
don't
you.
need to talk about that, but you've got your
I'll
own
give you a
good
demo of it
ideas.
one day. I want to get your opinion about it. I want to give you a demo about it one day and see. I
Yeah.
know you're retired and everything, but it would be good
Well,
to see your opinion about how it
yeah.
works.
Oh, sure. I'd be glad to get. I use software in my business for 28 years, but
Yeah,
the point is, you're an innovator too, Mo. I think there's a
thank you.
little bit of that in all of us. We just have to find ways to bring it out.
Yeah. Jim, is there any topics that I forgot to mention here that you'd like to discuss?
Well, let's see. We covered the direct contact overlays,
Anything. Doesn't have to be
formed
framing
rods.
related.
It's just, well, no, that's pretty much the way it was. In terms of operating a business, I had 2 stores for a couple of years, and I had to be a business administrator, which
Yeah,
was not terribly difficult because I have a degree in business administration and that worked, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be
sure.
a technician. I wanted to work in the back room. I wanted to have fun.
Yeah,
So, I scaled back to 1 store, and when the craft stores became popular in the late '90s, uh, Joanne, Michaels, Hobby Lobby, I had one of those stores, each of those 3 stores within a couple miles of my shop. And
hmm,
if for those framers who were around during that time, you know how they decimated the small shop custom framing business. Uh,
yeah.
and like everybody else, at first I tried to compete by cutting my price, but that's a losing proposition. So I decided to do what they don't do, which was 3-dimensional object framing and preservation framing. So because I build unique frames,
Yeah,
and higher quality frames that require greater expertise,
yeah,
those are things that they don't want to do or can't do. And
yeah.
that has kept my business quite healthy right up to the time I sold it.
So there you go. That's a little bit of wisdom right there, right? So differentiate and
Oh,
do
yeah.
things they cannot do. Yeah,
Yep.
that sounds great, Jim. Yeah, I want to thank you for just being a good mentor, a good friend, and I want to also thank you for all your contributions to the industry.
It's my pleasure, Mo. I watch the Framers Only forum every day, and I learn a lot there, and it's great to see the conversations.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank you.